Well, cash sales are actually quick and easy, but now let's take a dive into the process of creating an estimate for a customer. Not every business will do this, but sometimes you have customers who maybe need to collect bids to compare or present to other people before they can make a formal decision. Then, hopefully, they'll decide to purchase from us, so we'll need to also know how to convert an estimate into an invoice. That way you don't have to retype. Because as I've said before, typing is bad, and anytime we can not type by converting one thing to another, it's going to help us as well as be consistent. Now you have to remember, estimates are non-posting. They're basically our idea of what's going to happen, but they're created and don't have any impact on the bookkeeping until they're actually converted into an invoice. So let's take a look at creating an estimate first, and then how to convert those into some sales. You also need to remember that if estimates aren't available, it's because you didn't choose to do them during the Easy Step interview. But we can check that by going into Preferences and taking a look at our Estimates option. So I'll go to the upper left, go to Edit, down to Preferences, and we can check Jobs and Estimates on the left-hand side. Now there are several things for My Preferences, but we'll go over to Company because that's what we're interested in at the moment. We see some things at the top about the categories of pending, awarded, and progress. But down below, about halfway down, is where we see Do you create estimates? If this is set to no, you simply need to change it to yes. You also can see on the right side something that we'll do in actually the next lesson, but it says, do you use progressive invoicing? That also should be set to yes. A couple little check boxes that aren't that big of a deal, but do you want to be warned about duplicate estimate numbers? And don't print items that have a zero amount. I think both of those are good. So now that we have checked that both of those features are turned on, we can say OK, and that gets us back to our screen where we can get to work. Once you have estimates enabled, you should be able to see them over on the very left side of your little flowchart. We'll just click on Estimates, and that will bring us into the Estimate screen. As I said before, it's very similar to what you've worked with the cash sale, just a little bit different, maybe a little bit different fields, and it's usually the accounting that's happening behind the scenes that really differentiates these different types of forms one from the other. So the first thing I think I'd like to do is I would like to make an estimate for our Brookfield client. They're doing a QuickBooks implementation, and they need actually a significant amount of training. They've decided that they need 60 people to go through the QuickBooks CBT, and then in addition, they would like another 10 people to have the certification package. So let's go ahead and get started with that. First thing we always have to do in these things is select the customer, so we'll do that from the drop-down. We remember now that Brookfield actually had some jobs defined, so we could apply this just to the company in general, but since we want to work with the rollout job, which will make our tracking of profitability a little bit better, we'll go ahead and select that specific job. Notice that what QuickBooks does is it just puts the name of the client first and then a colon and then the name of the job after that. There's also a check mark at the top that says Estimate is active. Remember that not all estimates will be converted to invoices. So if you created an estimate and then somebody decided that they weren't going to go through with that particular purchase, you could remove this check mark. That allows you to keep the estimate, but it's not included on different types of reports. So if a customer came back, you could recall the information, but it's not going to show up in places where you don't want to see it anymore. Just like with our cash sale, we need to go over to the right-hand side, make sure that we have a correct date as well as an estimate number. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to start at a different number. Just make that 1001. And then we will come down and we'll be ready to get started with actually itemizing the estimate. We need to choose an item, and there's a couple of things that we said we needed to do. One was to use the CBT, and the other was to do a package. I see the QuickBooks CBT listed about halfway down. So I'll give that one a click. It gives me the description. All I need to do is move over to the quantity field and select the quantity desired, which was 60. I actually prefer to use tab when I'm working with a lot of forms. So we have 60 of the DVDs. They're going to be $125 a piece. I'll go ahead and press tab. And you can see that that does the math for me, so a total of $7,500. It also does a calculation for markup. Tells me that we're marking it up 136%, or basically we're making a 36% profit. That means that our total sales price is going to be $17,700. So you can see all the math is there. I love the fact that I don't have to do the math. Now I'm going to add our second item. So moving over to the second line, clicking on the drop down, and this time we want to have the certification package. If you recall, we actually created that as a group, and if you look in the middle column of the drop down, it identifies whether it's a service, an inventory part, a non-inventory part, or in this case a group. When I click on that, it actually creates multiple lines in my invoice. When we created the group, we said that we wanted to be able to display the individual items. So that's what's happening here. I could just show the certification package and have that as one item. We've chosen to break it out so people know what they're getting. So one certification package equals the CBT, also the certification class, as well as the voucher. Then we have a bottom line for the package as well. Now we need to add the quantity that we're going to use. If I try to click in the certification package line itself, I can do that. I can type in 10, and then I'll press tab, and it automatically fills in a quantity of 10 for everything. I do want you to notice, though, that I can click on each individual line item. So if I was selling the certification package, but maybe 2 people didn't want to take the exam itself, I could do that to individual items, sell 10 of everything else, but only 8 of the vouchers. So again, it's very, very flexible in what it's going to do. It's doing all of our calculations over to the right. It also is talking about tax, which we haven't gotten to yet, but some of our items are taxable, the CBTs, and the services are not. So within this particular estimate, we have both taxable and non-taxable items, and QuickBooks is keeping track of all of that. At the very bottom, we can see all of our totals, a total of $22,490. On the left-hand side, I can see that I have the opportunity to email this, or of course I can always print it out. For now, I will just do save and close, and I will get a copy of that to my customer, which will make me very happy and hopefully them very happy for a large sale. I'm going to go ahead and do a second version of this. We're going to go ahead and sell some more word training to a customer named Andy. So let's go ahead and click on Estimates, remembering that we could go up to Customers and Estimates as well. Select Andy from our drop-down, and we say, oh no, we thought Andy was in our system, but Andy isn't in our system. But then I remember, yes he is, it's actually Blaine Design. I just did that to remind you that the way you store an entry, the name of a company or the name of a person, might be different than actually the person's name. In this case, Andy owns Blaine Design. Now if I didn't remember this, I could go back into my customers list and look it up. But we'll just click Blaine Design. Everything else should be exactly the same. I need to add an item. And I'm going to do some instructor-led training. So there's instructor-led training, a quantity of 1. And he's going to take an advanced class as well, so we'll add that one in. But now I want to show you another little trick. First of all, we can go and we can type or edit any of these descriptions that are here. Simply click and type in what you want. You can replace the whole thing or you can add to it. But when I come over to the rate for this, maybe I want to give Andy a discount. Maybe I've talked to him on the phone and I said, you know what, Andy, you've been training with us for a long time and I'm going to give you a 30% discount. Well, I don't have a calculator in front of me, but I know that the normal class is $225. Watch what happens if I delete what's currently in there and then I just type 225 times, aha, see that little pop-up? And then I'm going to do 0.7. If you need to do math in fields that you are allowed to enter into, you can actually use your keyboard, type in the multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, and it will give you this little calculator tape to let you know that it will do the calculation. In this case, I want to know what 70% of 225 is. Instead of having to do that separately, I can do it here. Then I just press Tab or Enter, and I get to see that that's 157.50. That's a really cool tool, and I find that a lot of people just don't know it's there, so I like to show that to people. Now that I know that number, I can come over here and do 157.50 for the second class. Now don't forget that I also could work with the markup field. I could also apply a discount line item, but this is something that you can do right in the item that you're working on. I'll press Tab, and I'm all finished with this particular estimate, so again, I'll do Save and Close. Now we're ready for the next step in our process, and that is that Andy went ahead and said, yes, I think that's a great deal. You've given me a good price on my training, given me a 30% discount. I'm ready to go ahead and purchase that. Well, in order to do the purchase, we create an invoice. But we already have an outstanding estimate, so what do? Do we just go back and mark the estimate inactive and then create an invoice on top of it? No, you could do that, but that's not the best way. It's not the easiest way. What we do is we simply click Create Invoices, or go to the Customers menu and choose Invoices. And as soon as we choose a customer that has an outstanding estimate, in this case, Blaine Design, QuickBooks nicely says, oh, wait a second, I see that you had an estimate for that person. Is that what you want to use? If it is, I simply select it and click OK. If it's not, I can just click Cancel, get out of this dialog box, and make a new invoice from scratch. In this case, I want it. I'll say OK, and it gives me some options. What do you want to do when you convert this? You can create an invoice for the entire estimate. You can create an invoice for a percentage of the entire estimate, or create an invoice for selected items or for different percentages of each item. Well, for this one, we'll keep it simple. We're going to go ahead and create an invoice for the entire estimate. I'll say OK. And as they say, voila, everything is here. I really didn't have to choose anything or do anything differently, but this is now a formal invoice that will go into our accounting as opposed to an estimate, which is non-posting. At this point, it's as easy as clicking Save and Close.